Okay, we're recording. Casey, Mark, thanks, gents, for joining us. Joining me for a chat, mate. As I was explaining earlier, we're seeing sort of massive unemployment at the moment and big impacts on apprenticeships. I wanted to connect with you both about the impacts of mental health at the moment on apprenticeships. And Casey, obviously, you're the CEO and founder of LIVIN, and I'll maybe get you to explain what exactly that is in a minute. And Mark, we've known each other a long time, and you introduced me to Casey, and you're one of those guys that, when I first met you, ex-NRL player, boxer, tough guy basically, mate, but you're one of the nicest blokes I've ever met, and sort of talk really passionately about mental health. So thanks for connecting, guys. And I suppose the idea today is to really talk about mental health and what's going on in the world with unemployment. So if it's okay, Casey, I might just ask you, you're the CEO and founder of LIVIN. What is LIVIN, and where did it come from?
Well, firstly, thanks for having me on board, Paul. Very appreciative of the opportunity. LIVIN started in 2013 after we lost a great man. My best mate, Dwayne Nutley, to suicide. Dwayne lived with depression and bipolar for a number of years, and the stigma kept him quiet and prevented him from accessing the wonderful support that is out there. So after his tragic passing, we were confronted by the shocking statistics that surround both mental health and suicide in this country, and we realised that Dwayne wasn't alone. Suicide is the leading cause of death between the ages of 14 and 44, and 1 in 4 people will live with some form of mental illness every single year, but less than 50% of people will access support. So, and we started hearing stories just like Dwayne. They felt like they were burdened. They didn't want to reach out and ask for help. They felt different. They ostracized themselves from society and put themselves in a deeper, darker hole than what they needed to be. So we had to turn that negative into a positive. That's where LIVIN started. Plenty of people living in silence in this country, and then there's plenty of great service providers. So simply put, our job is to empower the people living in silence to reach out, feel normal, feel okay, to ask for help, and whether that be from a friend, family member, people around them, or the professionals in this country, because people by nature really want to help. It's just oftentimes empowering yourself to put your hand up and ask for help.
Yeah, and look, mate, it's amazing what you've achieved in the last few years. The LIVIN brand, it's really taken off, and we seem to be, collectively sort of getting our message out there about, the stigma of mental health, and we need to speak about it. So amazing work you guys are doing, and I mean, Mark, it was you that introduced me to Casey and to LIVIN. You own the gym, the Wicked Bots gym in Surfers Paradise, and the big theme through that gym has always been about mental health, and you speaking openly about mental health and being one of those people that could talk about it. So why did you get involved with LIVIN and with advocating about mental health issues?
Mate, I guess the reasonings are pretty similar to what Case said before. I just got sick of I lost a couple of mates, and it was just one of those things that that I thought I could never speak about either, and it's sort of like meeting Case and even getting involved with LIVIN, probably without even sounding too harsh, probably has saved my life. It's funny when you get yourself surrounded by different people and realise that it's okay to speak about your mental health and sort of reach out for help when there's need be. And as Case said, there's plenty of people out there that do want to help, but you get yourself trapped in that big black hole that unfortunately a few of us get trapped in, and it's quite difficult to find your way out. But it's sort of my probably life, I guess would have changed the day that I started speaking about it, and everything that LIVIN represents is everything that I believe in. So it's just a fantastic cause, and I guarantee it just be saving people's lives daily.
No, good on you, mate. And look, it takes real balls, actually, to speak openly, and that's the purpose of LIVIN, isn't it? So, no, thank you. And I guess, Casey, the thing that I'm worried about at the moment is, we've got a lot of apprentices that are being stood down, suspended. The number of job seekers coming through Busy's doors at the moment is huge. We're having these massive influx of job seekers. And I guess I'm really worried about the impact of Corona on mental health. Is that something you're already seeing? Is that something you're concerned about?
Definitely. All along, the government, I've been in ways very sort of supportive of the things they've done in using the restrictions on, mainly from a mental health perspective. I believe if they just shut us all off from the very start, it's been a spike in completely isolating here because it can happen. Suicide, but also mental health issues in the home, and then probably filtering into alcoholism, domestic violence, all of these other flow-on effects that it could have had, and they're probably still happening in some instance. Life is really pretty tough at the moment. These are ambiguous times. These are unprecedented times where everyone's lives have been turned upside down, and there's no manual on how to deal with this because it's never happened like this before.
Yeah.
And certainly not in our day and age. So, yes, it is really tough, and we're certainly seeing an increase in people reaching out to us. A lot of businesses wanting to get involved, which is great. The ones that are still operating, they wanting to get involved and help the people that they can within their networks. It's been pretty busy for us. We've been trying to pivot to get everything online. Everything we do is we go around to schools, businesses, sporting clubs, delivering educational workshops. It's all being face-to-face because for us, that's one of our strengths is the in-person, face-to-face delivery. So trying to get that online, but making it interactive and still relatable has been a challenge for us, but it's almost ready. But yeah, to answer your question, yes, we've certainly seen an increase.
Yeah, and so there'll be a lot of people that, again, newly unemployed, that they're new to, a lot of people will be having mental health challenges for the first time ever because of what's going on. How do we, this is something me and Mark were talking about earlier on, how do we recognize in ourselves when we're struggling with our mental health, and how do we recognize in each other when someone else is struggling with their mental health?
Mate, great question. And from person to person, it's completely different. So it's very hard for me to list, and as humans, we like lists, they simplify things. So I could put up a list of warning signs, there could be 20 warning signs there. And the three of us on this call might have sort of bits and pieces from, each of us could be experiencing each of these warning signs. And they're truly there, people, and we can make up a list of the warning signs, but I think the most important one, and this applies to everyone, is that gut feeling. If you feel as though something isn't quite right within yourself or notice it with someone else, that is an opportunity to explore or to further explore what might be going on. And we know those people around us, so we can just look for those small little subtle things, and there's no harm in asking, hey, are you okay? Or, hey, is there something you want to talk to me about? And if it's you yourself, that gut feeling, that warning sign can be if things are happening in your life that are preventing you from doing the things that you can normally do or the things that you enjoy doing, and it's lasting for a period of, say, 2 weeks, in a rolling period of 2 weeks, it's best to reach out and explore what's going on and put your hand up and ask for help. Because the worst thing that can happen is there's nothing wrong and you've sought that professional help.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't downplay peer support as well, the help of a friend or a family member.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to the warning signs individually would be very hard because everyone is different, but it's that slight change in behaviour of what behaviour.
That those close to us kind of recognise.
Yeah. And it could be anything, and it could be they could be a lot happier. That in itself is a warning sign. You never know. So please just reach out and explore that conversation. It's okay to start these conversations.
And Mark, obviously, we were in contact a couple of weeks ago. So I was we had that week where you weren't allowed to use the gym, and you put up your business and you set it up to go off in the parks, and then that Sunday night you found out you weren't allowed to do that anymore. You've been able to pivot your business online, but there's going to be a lot of small business owners like yourself who can't pivot. They can't do what Casey's been talking about pivoting their business. So again, we get this new cohort of people who are unemployed that are now tackling mental health challenges. I guess, what was it like for you going through that period where, you're trying to pivot your business and then you get that crunch moment where you go, everything I've just done for last week I can't do. What do I do now? What advice do you give to those small employers who are maybe struggling with their mental health challenges and are now looking to see what do they do with their business to sort of support themselves?
Again, it's as Casey said, it's very different from case to case. But with me, I've worked since I was, if I was out of school when I was 14 years old. So I've worked sort of every day of my life, and a lot, sort of my whole life. I've been in this industry fitness industry for 23 years and had this business for 15 years. So sort of worked 60, 70 hours a week, every week. So it's the first time in my life that I've ever had no work, and work has probably been something that's been my outlet, with mental health. So not only is it important for other people for exercise for their mental health, it was very important for me to get for my escape as well. So to have that taken away from you is different, and it's hard, but I've sort of had a never say die attitude anyhow, sort of in my life, and come through probably rugby league days, etc. I've got a good support base around me now, and it's the people that I worry about, the people that were already having problems, hadn't identified their problems, and then this has compounded the problem. And I'm guessing there's a lot of those people out there. There's a lot of businesses that were probably already struggling due to no ill effect of their own. And we're probably struggling a little bit mentally before this, and now this has just been a massive, concrete block chucked back on their shoulders again. So the fear for me, and it always has been, and I've been public about it, as you've seen on my social media pages, etc. I haven't never underestimated the virus, etc. in itself, but I think I said from the start that suicide will kill a lot more people than what this virus will, unfortunately. I sort of think that it scares me going forward. I don't think we've seen the most of the stress yet. I think we see the stress of it's still a bit of a fairy tale yet. I think the stress is yet to come. So I think the support that the small businesses and that are going to need in the next 3 to 4 months is going to be massive. So for me, I just had to ask down and just work and just change and just keep adapting and just keep trying to adapt and just don't give up. I guess that's probably the biggest thing, is just to not give up. Just keep keeping your thinking cap on, keep trying to pivot and keep trying to stay in front of it and keep trying to come up with ways that you can make your business work in different ways. I seen a good post by someone down in Sydney the other day. A bloke had one of the most popular. He had a little cafe. I forget where it was, in Surrey Hills or something somewhere. And they took the cafe away from him, and he's turned the cafe. Within 24 hours, he'd turned the cafe into a corner store. So he ripped his whole cafe out and turned his whole cafe into a corner store, and now sells like pastas and all this sort of stuff that you can't buy in the supermarket. So it's just a matter of putting your thinking cap on and don't, just try not to let it beat you.
Yeah, I was going to ask you as well, Mike. You've got the NRL background. You play for the Roosters and the Cowboys. I got that right, Mike? Yeah,
Roosters and the Sharks. Yeah, I went up to the Cowboys, but then I had injuries. Yeah.
That was 15 years ago, 20 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, 20 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So has the world changed? That's a very blokey world where we don't talk about things like mental health. Have things changed? Are we improving as a society? Do you feel like more people? And I'll put this to you as well in a minute, Case. Are we talking more openly now? Are we breaking those stigmas?
I think we're getting better. I think I was one of those people that would never ever speak about it, and I was one of those people that no one would ever expected that probably would have had a few little challenges. I was probably someone that being in my field as a personal trainer, and I was probably one of those people that everyone leans on to fix all their problems. But that probably helped me in different ways, because then I didn't have to worry about my own problems a lot. So has it changed? Yeah. The short answer is 100% it's changed. Have we got a long way to go? I think yes, but has it? The statistics are probably going to tell you whether it's got better or worse with the suicide rate. But do I feel like it has changed? I think that it feels like it's changed. Yeah, I can now speak about it, my mental health, a lot more openly than what I ever could have before. So when people realise that it's much better off to speak. Hence, it's probably the best slogan in the world that Casey now come up with, "It ain't waiting to speak." When people do realise that, it's only going to skyrocket the support that people are going to ask for.
Yeah, is that so? Would you agree with that, Case? Do you feel like the work that LIVIN is doing? Do you feel like you get in there and that you start to break that stigma around mental health?
Yeah, I'd agree with what Mark just said. We're doing it. There's plenty of other organisations just like us that are doing plenty of great work right around the country, right around the world. I believe, social media, it's a double-edged sword. With social media, there's all the negatives, which we can talk about later if you want, but the positives of it are we can spread this message. More people can engage with that message than ever before. I think that eventually, or I believe it eventually sort of wears through to people, and people are more comfortable. Why can't I talk today? Sorry, guys. More comfortable to put their hand up and ask for help. Yes, we still have a long way to go. And that's why for us, it's really important that we educate people from a young age so that they grow up and it's just second nature to them.
Yeah.
You can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's true. It's a lot harder. So for us, if we can teach them from a young age and they just grow up knowing this as, second nature, like we grow up, you break your leg or you butt your head, you go running crying to mum. That's just what you do. Why can't it be like that with mental health as well?
Yeah. So if we've got apprentices, who, job seekers, small business owners, a lot of their business, where would you advise them to go if either they feel in themselves that they're struggling with mental health or their families or friends are sort of saying, oh, this isn't good, on that gut feeling we'll talk about, where should they go, mate? Who are the best people to contact in these challenges?
LIVIN.
Pardon?
LIVIN.
Few variables depending on and location. If you're under 25, I 100% recommend Headspace.
Yeah, good.
Organisation, you might have one in your vicinity, in your locality. Otherwise, they've got phone numbers. They've got eHeadspace, which is online. Outside of that, for every single person, your doctor, your GP, you can go to them. You can talk to them about your mental health concerns, and they can write you out what's called a mental health care plan, which entitles you to, I believe it's 10 or 12 bulk build sessions with a mental health professional. They bulk build, so I won't say free. There could be a gap still, but sometimes they could be free depending on that service provider. So this is a really cheap, accessible way. And at the moment, there's telehealth, so you can still go to your GP, write this referral, but you can then go and have your sessions over Zoom, like we're currently talking right now.
And I think all this information I saw on the LIVIN website earlier as well, isn't it? It's all there.
All information's on our website, livin.org. Other great, and it's important when doing your research to trust credible sources. So all our information comes from Beyond Blue, which is a wonderful, credible resource. Lifeline is another one. Black Dog Institute. These are, and also Headspace. I mentioned them earlier. These are wonderful resources that are credible. They're backed by evidence or evidence-backed research. So always keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to end, gents, by something that sort of we're all very passionate about. I use my zone with Mark. I'm going to break my 5,000 MEPS record this month. So for me this month, the power of exercise has been crazy on my mental health. Because like everyone, I'm running a large business. It's full on at the moment. So I'd be going nuts with exercise. I just wanted to ask you both maybe and talk to you, Mark, just really briefly, given what you do, the power of exercise and diet. And I know it's on all over your website too, Casey. How important is that, and how we go? What's the best way of engaging with that in the current environment?
Exercise has just got so many multiple benefits. It's as well as just getting out and doing something, and sort of stop staring at the four walls. If especially if you are struggling, and so sitting home and time is probably the worst thing that you can do. But just to get out in any type of exercise, you can. So some people think of exercise, think a hard out gym session, but just getting out, going for a walk or something like that, clearing your head and getting some fresh air sometimes is a good thing. But as what the exercise part of it is just going to make you feel better. So you can't be. I don't believe that you can be mentally. You can't feel well mentally when you don't feel good about yourself either, whether that's physically or anything like that. So poor diet, no exercise, generally leads to you're not feeling the best. You're not looking the best, you're not feeling the best, therefore it'll transfer upstairs as well. So it's I think it's adamant for people to to get out and use that exercise and try and eat as healthy as they can, but try and educate yourself with it as well. A lot of people, a bit like mental health, they don't understand, they don't know. There's no education there with what's healthy and what's not, and what exercise to do and what not to do. So I have people message me about that with mental health and that all the time, and I'm happy to help them for nothing if that's the case. So it's it's the same thing if they're not unsure with their food or their exercise, they should go and see your GP or your doctor. And then if you can go and see an exercise professional or something like that and get a little bit of a plan or something like that, it's just as important as what it is to look after your mental health as your physical health, because it sort of runs hand in hand.
Yeah, agreed. And that's a big part of your brand too, isn't it, Casey? What you're trying to really go hard on promoting that whole healthy lifestyle.
But I believe I shouldn't say believe, I know the biggest takeaway from our education programs is self-care.
Yeah.
Self-care, once again, like warning signs, completely different from person to person. But that centers around routine and doing what makes you feel good about yourself. Big part of, I'd say 90% of people's routines is exercise. And what's exercise? Exercise is the exercise that you can do consistently. So that could be a walk, as Mark said. You know, some people train harder, and that's like good on them. So I don't want to scare the people off at home that aren't necessarily the fittest. It's okay if you just get outside and go for a walk, but make sure you do that consistently, because it's going to add up. You're going to put money in the bank, and it's going to make you feel better about yourself. Part of that routine, setting some goals, ticking them off, eating. Simply put, I'm not going to go into the full scientific story, but there's a part of our brain in our gut. So, you know, what we put in our gut has a direct connection to what goes on with our brain.
Yeah.
So, you know, you fill it full of good food, it's only going to have a positive effect on your mental health. So does exercise. Exercise releases the feel-good chemicals in our brain. So yes, it's a very big part of what we do. It's just about controlling the controllable at the moment.
Yeah. And just before we wrap up, I guess to summarise what we're saying, what are the key points, Casey? You know, for people tackling mental health challenges, all of our apprentices and you unemployed, what are the sort of major messages that an organisation like LIVIN would want to get to those people at the moment?
There's a few. I might throw out a few cliches here too, just so it's easy to remember. An important one to remember is you can't heal what you don't reveal. So no one can help you, or you can't even really help yourself unless you reveal what's going on. People aren't mind readers. When giving advice, people always ask, how do I reach out to a friend? How do I have that conversation? It's important to remember that, you know, if we're not mental health professionals, if we're just friends or families or even a random stranger, we don't have to throw on a white coat. We don't have to fix their problems right there and then. Oftentimes, listening is the most powerful thing we can do, because that's all they need. And when you listen and avoid distractions, when you avoid everything else that's going on and truly listen to the person, oftentimes they'll tell you exactly what they need and exactly what is going to help them. They say when giving advice, we were given, you know, it's always important to remember we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we need to listen twice as much as what we speak, which I hope has helped simplify that trying to help someone question that people might have. We don't need to overcomplicate it. Listening without judgment, super important, and then recommending the professional support. If life is in imminent danger, 000, Lifeline, great service. And you yourself, if you're a support giver, you can ring Lifeline up and ask, how can I start this conversation? Wonderful resource at any stage of the process. And then also GP, family, friends. But please don't suffer in silence. It is okay. It ain't weak to speak. It is okay to put your hand up, because everyone deserves to live a healthy and happy life, but it will be a journey.
Yeah, thanks, Casey. And I guess, Mark, the key point from yourself, I suppose, it ain't weak to speak, mate. You know, you're one of those blokes that speaks.
Tough times don't last, mate. Tough times don't last. I've lost a lot of friends and heard a lot of terrible stories about, you know, just solely because people just don't talk, you know. So there's an old cliche when Case says tough times don't last, tough people do. Sometimes it is tough, and it's a tough world at the moment. It's just tough, and it's due to no one's fault. You know, people are getting put in situations where it's hard. You know, it's really, really, really difficult for some people at the moment, and they're not used to it, and it's compounding already old problems. So it's just, I can't stress enough how much easier life is when you talk to your partner, talk to your mate, talk to someone. You know, GPs especially, they'll understand. Sometimes in this mental health world, people that you talk to don't understand about mental health, which we're trying to teach people what mental health is. So a lot of people don't even understand what it is, so they just think you're an idiot. So if you're not getting the right answers, just go and speak to your GP, go and speak to someone that, you know, that will understand you, and you will feel 1,000,000% better. But it's tough times, you know. You've got to be tough with it. You've got to be strong with it. You've got to try and ride it out. As Kay said, it's a journey. and it's sometimes it's tough, and at the moment for a lot of people it's tough, but it doesn't need to be the end. You've got to dig those heels in and be strong.
So I guess just before we wrap up, gents, people can help Living by going to the Living website. They could Google it, and you got a lot of merchandise there that helps you do your work, Case, right?
Yeah, merchandise, events, fundraisers when we're back up and running, and also our education that we're delivering into schools, businesses, sporting clubs right around the country.
Social medias.
Yeah, social media, LIVIN.org, the Facebook, Instagram. We've got a podcast out at the moment, which is on our website. I don't actually know what that's called on the podcast or a lot going on at the moment. It's only a new product. There's a quote that I'd like to share. It's from a Lord of the Rings movie. And I found it sort of at the start of Covid-19 and really helped me reframe this whole sort of ambiguous times that we're in and sort of turn this negative into a positive for myself anyway. So I wish it need not have happened in my time, said Frodo. So do I, said Gandalf. And so do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. And yes, times are shit at the moment, but there's plenty of opportunities there for us. And I'm not going to talk about the financial crisis because there is a financial crisis attached, and for people that's going to be severe. But it's about controlling what we can control. And at the moment we might not be busy, so maybe it's time to reconnect with ourselves, reconnect with our partners or family, whatever it is. There's a lot of opportunities in these times, but we've got to try and reframe it towards the positive.
Yeah, no, thanks, Case. That's awesome. I might grab that quote off you at the end again, if that's all right. And Mark, I wasn't going to do this, mate, but I'm going to give a shout out to the fact that you've worked your butt off in the last 3 or 4 weeks to repivot your business. So people, if they want to get into health and exercise wherever now in the world, they can now Google Wicked Bods and get online and join in with you and Haley in the virtual world.
Guaranteed.
Just Google Wicked Bods. Hey?
Guaranteed to have a body like Mark's if you do.
If you get Photoshop, maybe.
Yes, I can't thank you enough, Casey. I know you're so busy at the moment, and unfortunately you're so busy because of the environment we're in. So, mate, I just want to say a huge thank you for jumping on with us, and just congratulations on such an amazing organisation you've created, and you're doing such great work. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
And Mark, thanks so much for introducing me to Casey, mate. And
thank you, mate.
I'll see you soon enough anyway. I'll talk to you both soon. Thanks, gents.
Yeah, well done for what you're doing, mate.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, bud.